Today, my guest, you've seen him across WWE, NXT, TNA. He's a world-traveled professional wrestler, one half of the most dominant tag teams that ever went through NXT, the Ascension. You may remember him as Konnor or Big Con. Ryan, how are you, sir?
Brian, it's so damn good to make this happen. I'm happy as hell to actually sit here and be able to talk to you at this point. As we know, we've been trying to communicate for the past 3 months, 2 months, and
Yes,
it's been a swing and miss. So
I'm glad to finally see you as well. I'm really looking forward to sitting down with you today.
oh, do we got stories?
So let's go back. What drew you to professional wrestling? What got you into it? What made you fall in love with it all?
Okay, so that's a great question. So, and I'm very honest about this question because, when you hear most wrestlers, I'm sure that you've interviewed and spoke with, they're always like, I grew up wanting to be a professional wrestler. I always wanted to do. I didn't, and I'm very open and I'm very honest about it.
Mm-hmm.
I always loved it. I always enjoyed it because it's what always brought my family together. Because we always got the pay-per-views. My cousins and my uncles, they would all come over and we get in fist fights, and it was awesome, right? But I never saw myself as a professional wrestler. I always wanted to become an NFL football player. I was ranked in the state. I did really good. I was excited about that. But one day, so basically what happened, what pulled me in to professional wrestling was, one, I always knew about it, right? And I was a big G.I. Joe advocate. I love G.I. Joe. It's one of my favorite cartoons. I still watch it on Saturday mornings. I put it on YouTube to this very day. I still talk to the man. I hit him up every now and then. But I started doing landscaping, and we'll get to this. So when I was doing landscaping, a buddy of mine, his name was Don Hernandez, and he told me, he goes, hey, you'd never believe whose house this is. And I'm like, honestly, I don't give a damn as long as that check cashes, right? So I didn't think nothing about it, nothing big. All of a sudden, one of my heroes walked through. It was literally a slider, and he opens the door and he says, hey, maggot. And I said, you got to be kidding me, man. I go, you got to be kidding me. Sergeant Slaughter? Like, are you nuts? Like, yeah. I was like, Don, you should have told me this. He goes, I always knew you liked him. I just didn't want to say nothing. I wanted to surprise you, but you didn't really want to know who this place is, whose house we were doing. And so at that time, I was trying to play football for FAU. I'm a big fan. Howard Schnellenberger he did the first year for FAU's football program. And so that's where I wanted to go. So I was always hooked into football. So when I talked to my buddy Don, he goes, you should talk to him about the XFL. And I was like, wow, and I'm really showing my age now at this point. But he's like, you should talk to him about the XFL. So I walked up to him and I was like, first off, Mr. Slaughter, it's an honor to meet you. Like, you are cooler in person than I could ever imagine, And he looked at me and I said, can I ask you a question? I said, how does someone like me get into the XFL? I didn't have the greatest grades in high school. I was going to, at that time, it was called Broward Community College, to up my grades so that I could get into FAU. Howard loved me. And Sarge looked at me and he goes, let me ask you something, kid. You ever thought about getting into professional wrestling? And at that time, I'm 6'5". At that, my youth, I was 230, shredded, big, tall, spiky hair. Now I barely have any hair, right? and he literally looked at me and he goes, you ever thought about it? And I go, honestly, no, I never thought about it until you said something. But it's always been one of those things that has brought me and my family together. So anytime I thought about professional wrestling, it was never a negative vibe. I always loved it. And for me, it drew me to it. And, several years later, I was picked up through Developmental, obviously WWE, which I'll let you control this whole thing. But that's how my whole life started in wrestling. Other than watching it as a child with my grandfather and watching it growing up with my family, I can honestly say I never said, hey, I want to be a pro wrestler. I can't wait. I wanted to be a pro football player. That's what brought me into becoming a professional wrestler.
So after talking with Sarge, where did you find to go training? Was it accessible at that time period for you to find a school?
Yep. Amazing question, right? So, Rusty Brooks at the time, who passed away, unfortunately, who we all love. He mentioned Rusty Brooks' school to me. At this point, he lived in South Florida, which is where I was living at that time. He gave me his address, everything, told me about a show that was happening. And I met a gentleman by the name of, I don't know if a lot of people know this guy's name, but I think the world of him. His name is Billy Fives. I went to a show and he gave me all the information to get in contact with Rusty Brooks. And that was how it all started in a backyard where Gangrel started. So I started the same school Gangrel did. Who Dave I love to this very day. It's the stiffest prick I've ever met in this business.
So how long did you train there before you started working matches and getting your name out there, you feel?
It took me about a year. It took me about a year to actually, because times are different, right? So now it's like run a couple things, you're booked. Back then you had to usually do, I would say it was about, usually you had to put in about a year of dues before you started.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, there was a company that started called UWA, Urban Wrestling Alliance, that started up. They came specifically down to Rusty's school, and they just basically, they were looking at talent, and they ended up pulling me aside. And I was so excited because it was the first time I've ever got acknowledged. It was about a year in, and they asked me the question, like, you look Indian. Are you Indian? I was like, no, sir, I'm not. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Well, good luck. I was like, damn, like that. But that was where I started, was with Rusty Brooks. And you know, everything kind of simulated from there, where I met Soul Man Alex G, who became mine and MVP's trainer with Rusty Brooks. So we had collaborated together, and me and MVP had a strong connection there at that point. Um, and then it's just kind of like, it's kind of like the domino effect. Things just kind of happen. You meet people, you meet new trainers, and you just branch out. And, that was kind of how my whole story kind of aligned. It wasn't that I was great or anything. It was just who I knew. And I just wanted to soak everything in and learn. And I became better and better.
Were you doing any extra work before your developmental deal came about, or how did you get on WWE's radar back
No,
in the Deep
no,
South days?
no, not at all, man. Not at all. And that's going to piss a lot of people off. Not at all, man. I actually was doing bouncing, and I had a real job at the time. My schedule was by no means normal. It was hectic as hell, on top of going to school. But what ended up happening was, and it's funny, it's a wild story. So what ended up happening was, as I actually knew someone, a woman that was in the business at the time by the name of Angel Orsini. She wrestled with ECW. She knew Tommy Dreamer. At that time, Tommy Dreamer was basically was looking for talent. He was in that position to where he'd bring talent in, get them looked at. At that time, Johnny Ace would decide if they liked him or if they didn't. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, right? And so I called Angel up one day and I said, hey, man, listen, do you think I have a shot? And she looked at me and she's like, are you crazy? Like, you really want to try to go to the WWE? And I was like, hell yeah, isn't that everyone's goal? She goes, yeah, it really depends. And I was like, no, hell no, I need to make some money. I want to live my dream. Like, get me the hell out of here, please. So she's like, send me a tape. I'll send it to Tommy. And I was like, okay. Sent her the tape. She sent it to Tommy. And Tommy got the tape. Oh, guys, I love Tommy. To this very day, I still talk to him. I love him so much. Tommy called me up and he goes, hey, I got your tape. I reviewed it. You look good. He goes, but I'd probably try to work on your midsection. You're a little fat around your belly. And I was like, damn, man. Damn. I was like, you gotta be kidding me, man. But you know what? Like, he knew he's so privy to the game. Tommy is like, he's a goat. And so I did that. I did everything I had to do. I slimmed down. I started sending him updated photos and everything. Then he called me and told me, hey, we want to bring you in. At this time, I was in Fort Lauderdale. They're like, hey, we want to bring you in, have you get looked at. Johnny Ace is intrigued by you with your look. And at that time, they wanted big guys,
Mm-hmm.
very little tattoos. And so I just kind of fit the mold at that point. So I went there. I did the whole shebang. I walked around in my gear all day. That's a whole different story. I was supposed to have a dark match with New Jack. Won't get into all that. But damn, it was a great story. And yeah, that was what got me noticed. Was I walked around in my gear all day. I was very humble. I got up out of my seat to make sure like Pat Patterson sat down. Mr. Briscoe sat down. Like I was very humble, and I think they saw that, and I think that's what helped me out on top of, having at that time a really good look for them.
No, surely, did you get signed that day or like following weeks with that?
This is even a better story. Oh, this gets good, man. So at that time, I was doing windows and doors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I love working on homes. It's one of my favorite things to do. And so months had passed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Angel calls me up and she goes, "What the hell are you doing?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? What am I doing?" She goes, "Tommy has been trying to get in touch with you for the past month." And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. You have to be kidding me. She goes, "No, you need to call him. You need to call him now. Here's his number. Call him." So I calls him, right? He picks up the phone. I said, "Hey, this is Ryan O'Reilly." At this time, that was my wrestling name. I go, "This is Ryan O'Reilly calling you back." And he goes, "What the hell's wrong with you, kid? Do you want a job or not?" And I was like, "Yes." I was like, and I had a 300-pound panel in my arm while I'm on the phone walking as I'm doing all this. And he's like, "Well, why are you dodging my calls?" I was like, "Tommy, I swear to God," I was like, I'm not getting your calls. And he goes, "Well, do you want a job?" I was like, "Please, yes, absolutely, I do." I was like, "I'll leave today if you want me to." So that was how it all started. Like it was so abnormal. My
Mm-hmm.
whole career getting up to where it started, it just it's just a wild story how it all was, how it all came about.
When they offered you your developmental deal, did you have an option to go to Deep South or OVW, or was it just they were
No,
sending you to Deep South?
no, it was I was sent straight to Deep South. So at that time, Johnny Ace kind of had an idea of a territory he wanted to start up, and he only
Mm-hmm.
wanted to select 15 at that point. And I mean, it was a good select 15. Like I think the only one we had was at that time it was Angel Williams at that time. And then we had like Mike Knox, Gallows, who's one of my
Mm-hmm.
good friends too as well. Um, who ended up becoming my roommate. And that's a whole off the air type of story. Like we could tell you stuff that it would blow your mind actually. But yeah, I didn't have that option. Now
Mm-hmm.
going forward, if you ever bring it up, like the whole idea of when it shut down, I did have that option between FCW and OVW at that time. But during that period, they only hired 15 people. It was the original, and that was where I started. And it worked out kind of good because it was in McDonough, Georgia. At that time, I lived in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at about maybe it was like a 7.5 hour drive in a car. So
Mm-hmm.
it worked out pretty good.
What was your first initial thoughts of what WWE developmental was and Deep South during your time there?
Um, well, man, I'll be honest, Brian. Like I'm an off the cuff kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen some wild stuff in my life. So for me, it was like normal. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
fun. It was a brotherhood. Like we all got along. We all ate together. We partied together. We had a great time, And I'll be honest with you, it's hard to think about when you go back. Be like, man, that was my life. I wish I would have embraced it a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
because I was always on that. You got to get to the next level. You got to get to the next level. You got your match next week. This is who you're working. Like, yeah, you never soaked it in that like you're here, dude. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's this. And I didn't do that. But when I look back at it now, I'm like, wow, I was an original 15. There's only 15 of us in this entire world that got selected.
Mm-hmm.
And so it means a lot when I think about it, and it was an amazing time. We had several great coaches there, you know. But yeah, I loved it. Me personally, I really truly loved it.
Is there any particular moments that stand out for you personally during your Deep South run?
Yes. Yes, there is. Yes, absolutely there is. So this is a really great question because this is one of my fondest moments when I was in Deep South. So William Regal at the time came down he was a guest that week. And I stayed after practice one day for him for an hour and we just rolled around.
Mhm.
We had a show the following day and William, Mr. Regal, he literally said that he requested to work me. Papa Joe, as we know, is Jody Hamilton,
Mhm.
called me into his office, said, kid, he goes, big day for you today. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? He goes, you're wrestling Regal today. I go, get the hell out of here. Like, are you kidding me? I'd already read his book. I love him. And I was like,
Mhm.
you got to be kidding me. And he goes, no, he requested to work you. So this is so good, man. So show day, we're in the back. He's he's very good about not going A, B, C, D, E. He does your bullet points and
Mhm.
you just feel everything when you're out there, right? So his music, we're in the back, his music hits and I go, Mr. Regal, I was like, good luck, sir. And he looks at me and he shakes my hand and he goes, don't say that now because you might not like me after the match. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. He walks through and I go, I'm about to get my ass kicked right now. I was like, he's gonna whoop my ass. So I walk out there. I'm very timid. I'm very scared. I'm young. I'm nervous, right?
Mhm.
We go to lock up, and as we lock up, he goes, I've got me wife's drawers on. And I'm like, what is happening right now? Like I went from this ultimate fear to this excitement and just like he was another one of my heroes. Him and Fit are like two of my heroes, right?
Mhm.
Several actually. But I was like, this is incredible. And then in the match, he stomps on my ear and my ear starts bleeding. So, but it's all good. That's part of wrestling, right? That's what you do. But it was like you go from this ultimate, like, oh my God, I'm scared. And then once I realized when we locked up, he was so incredible. Like for him to break the ice in the ring in a lockup to tell me something silly just
Mhm.
made me just calm. And I was laughing as he's laughing in the lockup. I was like, this is insane to me. Like, it was so cool. But that was one of my biggest moments that I remember in Deep South.
Did
And
they
how
have
could it
any?
not?
Go ahead. Yeah. No, that's truly an honor for Regal to request to work with you.
It is. It
Hmm.
really was. And I knew it. And, I'll always be grateful and very thankful for
Hmm.
that because it's obviously to this very day, it's a memory I'll never forget.
Absolutely. During Deep South, was there ever any talks of you going to the main roster, you doing anything? Like, was there any ideas pitched to you during that initial run
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, no, that's another great question. So at the time I was tagging me and Derek Knightkirk at that time, we were doing the ECW tours basically. We were doing all the live events and things like that. We're wrestling like Dreamer, and I forgot. I think maybe he was tagging with Sabu.
Hmm.
Um, we were wrestling Nunzio, Tony Mamaluke, who to this very day I freaking love him. He's one of the most amazing guys I've ever met in this business. So we got to interchange on a lot of people, and it was, I mean, it was amazing when I go back. I just wish I would have not been so nervous and soaked it in
Hmm.
more, just been in the moments more. And that's like something I always tell like guys I work or if I'm training students, like learn how to be in the moment and don't be so caught up in the wrestling aspect of things
Hmm.
because truly the best things that happen are when you're not in the wrestling aspect and you're just being you.
Yeah.
And the fans, the best part about it, the fans know it. They
Uh,
know when you're having fun. Like, don't ever insult fans' intelligence.
hmm.
And unfortunately, that's a whole main roster thing, right? We can get into
Hmm.
that later. But you just don't do certain things because you know what? The fans, they pay your bills, they enjoy your time, respect that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something I always tried to do.
So you were there from the initial days of Deep South, and were you there
Man,
when they were closing down?
man, I've been to 3 developmental
Yeah.
systems. You're talking to the brother of brothers of
hmm
developmental system.
Could
Sadly,
could you see the writing on the wall when Deep South was starting to? Did you know anything was going to happen, or you guys
nope,
were shutting down?
nope.
No.
I had no idea. Nobody knew. No one knew anything. Johnny Ace at that time came into town and we had a big meeting.
hmm
We all got a random massive text saying, be at the school at this time, the show's canceled. We had no idea what was going on. We're like, holy shit, like this is not good. Like
hmm
you just know when the show's canceled, there's something wrong.
Oh yeah.
The show is never canceled, right? So we went there, and then the whole aspect of things happened, and that was where we went to Hooters afterwards. We all kind of got together, and Johnny was walking around saying, "Hey, do you want to go to OVW? Do you want to go to FCW?" At that time, Johnny Ace had FCW was going to be his baby, uh,
hmm
and I'm not, man. It's hard to say who was in charge of OVW at that very period. Um, I want to say it was Cornette, but I don't know if Cornette was running it hard at that point. I'm not sure,
hmm
but it was he was asking people what they're comfortable with, and it was crazy because that night we all congregated amongst each other. We all talked, and everyone was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go here." And it was like, "This is like your farewell, goodbye, good luck, and hope you make it, and we'll see you soon, hopefully."
hmm
So nobody had any idea that was going to happen. No one did.
It's crazy.
But it's wrestling, baby.
Oh yeah.
That's what happens. The card's always subject to change.
So what made you choose the developmental territory that you went to?
FCW, Florida
hmm
Championship Wrestling. I'm from Florida. It was a layup for me. I want to be closer to my family. I want to be closer to home. I miss my family. I mean, it was almost like it was respectfully God telling me to go back.
hmm
Like time to get back to your roots a little bit. And then that's what I did. And it was great. I enjoyed, being back home. There's just something about the Tampa St. Pete area that just
hmm
I mean, I'm still here. I'm still here. Like I love this place. It's always shiny, the sun's always out, we're always happy. Like
hmm
it's hard to leave a place like this. I'm on vacation all the time.
Exactly.
Now
So
we got
how was
you
it?
down here.
Oh yeah. How was it working with Steve Kern, like going in
Oh,
from Deep South, and then you've got new trainers, you've got a new leader, how was that adjustment and working with all these different minds?
well, so for me, it was very easy. And I'll tell you why it was easy. So when I went to Deep South, Bill
hmm
DeMott ran that territory. Um, and of course, Papa Joe. And at that time, I watched Bill get fired. And then Dr. Tom Pritchard came in, right? I had already
hmm
met Steve Kern, and me and Steve Kern, we just clicked. He's just a cool guy who's just down to earth, very, very genuine human being. So when that transition happened, I watched that happen to where Dr. Tom Pritchard got fired, and then
hmm
Bill DeMott came back in. And that was the very moment I knew I had worn out my welcome in developmental. It's like I just watched a full rotation in my career of these amazing trainers, and
hmm
they're amazing in their own aspects. They are incredible trainers. I watched a whole full cycle happen, and I was like, I don't think human beings are supposed to see this. I was like, this is a bit much, man. It's like I gotta get out of here soon.
Do you feel like when you went to FCW and you were getting established there that it was on with the races there, like it was time they were getting behind you finally when they put you?
Um, no, So FCW, like, honestly, like, that was not my situation. It wasn't that the coaches knew how talented I was. It wasn't that the coaches didn't believe in me. But there's like a lot of things that have to happen for you to elevate to that next level. It's not just 2 or 3 or 4 people. It's got to be a selective group, right? And so when we were there, we had started the Ascension originally, right? The Ascension was, and I always, this very day, I'll still, hit him up every now and then. Ricardo Rodriguez was the one that started all this. And I'm very honest about it. Like, Ricardo started all of this. And this is during the duration of NXT season 4, NXT season 5. I got booted off NXT season 5. I was obviously, like, because that stuff, it really is a vote. And so anyone that tells you, like, it is what it is. No, like, when you're voted off something, it hurts. It really does, because you're thinking you're not good enough, right? So you feel that. So I literally got a text message that night saying, it was from Bill, and he said, "Hey, come in. We've got an idea for you." And I said, "Okay, I'll be in." It was Wednesday, because Tuesday was when I got voted off. It was a Wednesday. And I said, "Okay, I'm coming in. Like, obviously I'm going to come in." Depressed, sad, just pissing on myself, all just like, it's like, get over yourself, Ryan. Come on, man. Get your ass up, man. But not me. At that time, I was like, man, nobody likes me, man. So I go in the next day, and Ricardo had pitched this entire idea of the Ascension. He's like, "Oh, it's going to be chakras and all this." And I looked at him, I go, "Well, this is a sinking ship." I was like, and I at the time, I was, I was in a bad mood. I had to fly home Wednesday morning, go straight in. And, I still felt that embarrassment. And then I'm looking at the team. I'm like, it's, Orlando Colon, Ricardo Rodriguez, Shaw, at that time, Tom Latimer, and me. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, just future endeavors, please, at this point. Like, this doesn't even make sense right now. When I'm looking, and I told Bill this, I was like, when I'm looking at it, I'm like, why are we even here? Like, this does not make sense to me. He's like, just go with it. Just trust the process. And I was like, okay. And Dream had this great idea, right? So, anyways, I'm just like rambling on, because I'm caught up in the story, and I'm seeing everything for what it was, right? So we did our first promo. You can YouTube it and find it and whatever. It's a terrible promo. It is terrible. We don't even look like we all belong together. And so I'm sitting there, and I was like, I don't get this one bit. Just fire me at this point. Like, I mean, that's what it looked like, right? And they just don't know what to do with you. They just throw shit together to see what sticks, and nothing's sticking. And it's just like, well, I'm just a bad batch of diarrhea at this point, it looks like. So anyways, so one day, this is how the Ascension all formulated, right? So one day, Ricardo Rodriguez, he was still doing the intro for Del Rio at that time. He had to go out to California. And Ricardo looked at me, and he was like, "Hey, I've got to go away. I've got, live events and everything. You guys got promos coming up." He goes, "Just talk about the Ascension and what it means to you." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." So I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking about, like, me being me. I'm a little dark. Like, I like morbid stuff, and, nothing crazy. But so I texted everybody that morning. I said, "Hey, Ricardo said, let's talk about the Ascension and what it means to us. Let's all wear suits and just all wear black. It just seems fitting, And so we all went there, and I was like, Shaw, stand here. You're the eye candy. You stand up front, and then I'll stand in the back. And then we had Orlando, and we had Latimer there, and then we all just said one-liners. That's all we did. Dream comes walking out, and he goes, "Come here, baby." And so we hop down, and we all go in there. He goes, "I want you all to watch this and tell me what you all see." And so we're sitting there, we're watching it, right? Because they did playback for us. And I looked at him, and I literally go, "I see 4 people are about to get fired. That's what I see." I'm just being honest, right? And Dream goes, "No, baby. What I see is a bunch of vampires." And I was like, what the hell are you talking? Vampire? What? I'm thinking businessmen, and
Hmm.
a businesswoman. And he's like, he sees vampires. And then Shaw interjects. She's like, oh, True Blood. He's like, yeah, baby, True Blood. That's what I see right there, oh, baby. So we all went back out there, and then Dream put his hands on everything, and the way that we rose up, and then we talked about it, and we did everything. And that was how it took off. And then when we were done, I remember stepping down, walking over to Dream. I was like, is that what you want? He goes, it's gold, baby. And he goes, and I looked at him. He goes, I just want to ask you one question. And I go, what's that? He goes, who's going to tell Ricardo he's fucking fired? And I was like, oh, no. I was like, no, no. I was like, I can't Dream. I was like, no, because this was his whole concept. And he goes, no, baby, he's out. I was like, oh, no. And to this day, I love Ricardo to death. He's such an amazing human being. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh man, I felt like terrible. I thought I was like doing us all, a justice. And it literally backfired on me. And I was like, well, I'm done. That's for sure. So, and then that's what elevated us to become that dark characters that we were. And then what ended up happening, I'm just going on and on. I'm just telling you the whole story right now. And then what ended up happening is I broke my back, right? It was 2000, I think 12. I broke my back because I was out almost a year. I broke my entire lower back, and I had disappeared. And then Shaw kind of went her own way. And then Orlando did his own thing. He obviously went up with Primo, and they started doing the clones and their thing, which was great for them. The
Mhm.
Matadors, like they did awesome, right? And it was just Shaw at that point, and then it was Tom Latimer, our NWA guy, right? And then so Shaw eventually branched off and kind of did her own thing, and then Tom was just trying to hold the fort down. And as soon as I came back, Hunter saw that, and he was just like, "You two, you two
Mhm.
are money. Like you guys look the part." And then, as time went on, obviously things happened with Latimer, Google it, whatever. I don't want to get into all those details, and then Vic came along, and that's how me and Vic got together. And that's when it became badass, because then it was literally like what Hunter had seen at that time. It was this gothic thing
Mhm.
and the lights and fancy things. And then Hunter looked at us and was like, no, y'all are heavy metal. Like, just be you. And that's who we are. Like, that's legit what we are. And it was like me and Vic, like, we're like, let's turn this shit out. And that's what we're going to do. And that's what we did.
Absolutely, you did. So when Tom left and Vic came in, were you ever worried about what your place would be, or was that transition quick?
No, no, I don't. I was never worried about where my place was. My place was always solidified.
Mhm.
Um, During the transitional period between Latimer and Vic, everything was kind of up in the air at that point.
Mhm.
And I won't go into too much detail, but basically, jobs run the line, and it was a selection of once Tom Latimer got let go, where other people's careers could possibly go.
Mhm.
And so for me, it was, and I loved a lot of people. My pitch was originally to be Neville because he looked like a gargoyle,
Mhm.
and his offense was so innovative, and it was so amazing. And at that time, like he stuck out like a sore thumb. He looked like he belonged, and he looked like he was a part of it.
Mhm.
So for me, that was what I originally had pitched, but um, Hunter had other directions to go, and I'm not a hard person to work with.
Mhm.
But what ended up happening was when that worked out, it ended up becoming a brotherhood between Vic and myself. And so, we click. Like even to this day, if we were to go to a show, we know each other inside out.
Mhm.
We know what we're thinking. We know what we're gonna do. So it's
So
it's
you
wild.
so you get with Vic, and then it's just like off to the moon. The Ascension's here. It seems like this time in developmental, there there's more money. It seems like with the vignettes and the theatrics and what they're putting together, and that was just like a perfect storm for you at that time.
Yes, it kind of fell into our lap at that point. And again, Brian, it's kind of like what I said earlier. It's kind of like who you know, the
Hmm.
relationships that you build. Chris Chambers at that time was the guy that produced a lot of these things. And you would ask questions and you'd want to learn. And Chris was a great example of, hey, I think this, hey, I think that, and you do it.
Hmm.
And in all honesty, when it comes to an aspect like that, where you don't know things, you listen to these professionals that help build you and pull you in. And I'll be damned if they ain't right, right? They
Hmm.
take good care of you. They want to succeed as much as you do. So, with Vic and Vic, first off, I'll just say this. Vic was the last to ever come out of the dungeon.
Hmm.
I don't know if a lot of people know that or not, but he was the last student to graduate. He is one of the best technical wrestlers next to TJ Wilson when it comes to how great they are technically. Vic is amazing. He's an amazing worker. And he became a big part of what helped us succeed, and because of that dynamic between him and I, that's how we elevated ourselves. And Hunter saw that and Dream knew that. And because of that, we were able to do what they called at that time the coconut loops here in Florida. We could do 40-minute matches,
Hmm.
30-minute matches. We have had to wrestle Kenta and Devitt at the time, for an hour, but we just all knew each other. And it was one of those things that it's hard to explain when, you always hear the stories of when people have chemistry with one another, that's what makes money. At very few times have I met that chemistry, but with Vic, it was one of those things of chemistry.
When you guys caught on quick in NXT and everyone was getting behind you, the fans were behind you, was there ever, did they ever try to call you up quicker than what they did and then people had to interject or?
No,
Uh,
no. Well, how the Ascension started was I don't remember which pay-per-view it was for NXT, but Vince at that time was in an elevator. And as he was going up the elevator, it was playing. And he saw Vic and me. And he goes, I like these guys. I want to bring them to the main roster. And so that was kind of the economy of what brought us or put us on the scope when it came to the main office. The fans loved us, but to have the office pay attention is a whole different aspect of things. Like, let's be honest. Like, we know the fans can love what they love, but if the office doesn't like it, they're not gonna
Mhm.
they're not gonna push it, right? They're just not. So, um, and it worked out in our favor at that time.
Was there ever any worry or hesitation when you got called up because previous people had been called up and it wasn't, they didn't have the same vision as what NXT had?
Oh man, oh, you're really going this level, huh? Okay. So I'm gonna take you back to the day that we got the phone call. So the day that we got the phone call, first off, the week prior, Dream was walking down the hallway, pissed off. He was absolutely pissed. And he's like, my intention is to become an Egyptian. What the fuck, baby? And I'm like, I and me and Vic at that time, we had worn our welcome out. We're 33, 34 at that time. And it's like you'd think he'd be happy that we're getting the hell out of there at this point, right?
Hmm.
Dream had basically seen us in diapers. I mean, it was like, man, get these Nimrods out of here, right? And so I didn't understand what was going on. So the day that we got called up, we had a big, big creative meeting. It was massive creative meeting, right? It was Jane Geddes and I forgot who the other gentleman was. He was the famous volleyball, well, not famous, but he was the professional volleyball player, Kenyon Seaman.
Hmm.
Sorry. And then there was Hunter and several other people with the writing staff. So they're like, hey, we got a meeting today. They're calling you up. We're getting ready. It's time to go. And we're like, okay. So we all sat down, and I remember sitting down. Dream was to my left of me. And Hunter was talking. He's like, first off, congratulations. We're glad you're here. You're going to be part of the main roster. Creative has some ideas for you. And Ryan Katz, at that point was kind of like he was under Dream.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had slid papers underneath us. They were like, don't turn them over. And so, they were talking. I was like, man, I thought you all forgot about me because I've got cobwebs on my, on my locker. I was like, and, we all made jokes about it and everything. And then Hunter was like, well, Creative has an idea for you. And so we want to bring you up as this. Now go ahead and flip your papers over. And we flipped the papers over and we saw what you saw debut as the Ascension. And I remember looking at that piece of paper and I stared at it and I go, oh shit. And Dream leans over and he goes, fucking Egyptians. And I was like, oh no. And I was like, you cannot recreate the Road Warriors. You can't. I don't give a damn who you are. I don't care how big you are, how jacked you are. The Road Warriors were the Road Warriors. Demolition were demolition. And, the powers of pain were the powers of pain. These men, if you've never met them, they're massive. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'5", 300. I'm a big guy. But these guys, they're a whole different breed at their time. And I remember Dream telling me, he's like, let me give you a piece of advice, Konnor. I was like, what, please talk to me. And he goes, you need to do an interview and let them know that demolition, the demolition, baby. Road Warrior, the Road Warrior, baby. You are the Ascension, and that's who you are. Like he was trying to explain to me how to pull what they wanted storyline wise away from what we were. Me and Vic were headbangers, basically. Like we were just all about heavy metal. We were all about like whipping ass. We weren't about paint. We weren't about any of that crazy stuff, and that's not who we were. But that's what Creative wanted. And at 30, at that time, 33, 34, it's like, we don't have a lot of options. Like we got to run with this and do the best that we can with it and make as much money as we can and hope that, it works out. Unfortunately, that was a position that we were put in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all good though. So it's fine. It is what we wouldn't be having this interview if it wasn't for those moments.
That's true. That's true. How do you feel your main roster run? How was it for you personally?
For me, it was frustrating. It was, but I was so happy to be there. I was around a lot of my friends.
Mm-hmm.
I was around people that I loved, people that I've looked up to for a long time. So when it comes to like that passionate side of me, like I wouldn't want anything to change because, when I think about the connections that I met, like for example, like I did a show a week ago and I was with Heath Slater, one of my closest friends, like I get to get booked on shows still to this day and be with some of my closest companions. We watched our children grow up.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it was, it was frustrating when it came to the developmental aspect of the creative side of, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is how it's going to be. But in all honesty, man, what I missed the most about everything was like the friendships, the bonds, the hanging out, the families, the times that we had. So, there was more good than there was bad. And that's the way I look at things.
Mm-hmm. When your release came, was it something you guys saw coming, or was this just out of the blue
Oh, no.
for
Oh,
you?
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming because I broke. I'm the one, and I have never told anybody this, but I'm the one that broke because I always had everything together, and I always was the guy that looked at the glass half full. And for a moment in my career there at the end, I was like, they're just not shit for us. I mean, they offered me and Vic the raise.
Mm-hmm.
They offered us $500,000 to stay. But my question was, why
Mhm.
sit in catering and be more miserable than what I am? Like, and again, this is just the truth that I'm speaking. And it was hard. And Carano kept trying to call me at that time, and I wouldn't pick up because I knew I was being let go. I was like, fuck them, respectfully. They're gonna have to earn this fucking fire because I just was tired of all the political BS. And that's the thing, unfortunately, that comes with that level is there's a lot of political aspect there. And listen, I was there for 13 years
Mhm.
and I was there because I was a good person and I loved everybody. So they knew that once I broke, it was like, okay, they're done because Ryan never breaks. And I was just like, I'm broke at this point. Like I couldn't fight it no more. It never at that point was the glass half full. It was always empty because I had lied to myself for the longest. And that was the hardest part, I think, of anything. And I always tell like the students, I'm always like, listen, if I could change anything in my entire career, I could have had a very close relationship with Vince. And if he ever watches this, he'll know. He came down one day. It was astronomical bullshit time. It was like probably 1 a.m. I had pulled up to the TV hotel. He came down because he works out late,
Mhm.
early, actually early. It's early when he works out. His trainer came out. He looked at me and he goes, "Hey, it's good to see you. Hey, you want to come work out?" And I should have said yes, and I said no. That was the biggest moment of my life, and it was something that it was so simplistic that I didn't do that I wish I could go back and change. But then, Brian, I think to myself, if I would have changed that, then where would my life be today?
Mhm.
Right? I now have an amazing woman. I got a beautiful son. Like, so you play
Mhm.
these mind games with yourself, and it's like you did the right thing, you know.
Mhm. When your release came, did you know if professional wrestling was something you were going to continue to do, or if you were ready to change or just take a step back for a while?
So for me specifically, I went straight into coaching at that point. Me and Jay Lethal, we went into coaching together. I knew that I had a lot to give back,
Mhm.
but I wasn't sure how much I was ready to give to the business at that point, just because I had been so, I'm trying to think of the word, like I was hurt. You
Mhm.
know, anybody that gets let go, you're always going to be hurt. I don't care what they say. Like, I'm glad this, no bullshit. It hurts. You're just trying
Mhm.
to cover up the feelings. It hurts. Nobody likes being rejected. And so for me, I knew I had a lot to give back at that time. I just didn't want to give the business back anything because I needed to let everything
Mhm.
digest and I needed to let all my feelings just kind of settle down. So that was where I was at once the release happened. I did indie shows. I did some, big time wrestling. I did a bunch of things, but I'm going to be honest with you, man. Um, Doing those things didn't give me the feeling that I have when I was at MSG in that locker
Mhm.
room with my family.
Mhm.
So that was, and that's part of the business. That's just the way
Mhm.
things happen. You never think it's going to happen to you, but you know what? It happens to everybody unless you're that select five.
Yeah,
And that's
that's true.
okay. There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with that.
How has life been since WWE for you?
Well, 7 months ago, I died. I don't know
Uh,
if I told you that. I'm pretty sure I did.
you did.
I did. I passed away. I was dead for 2 minutes. My heart stopped. They had to rejuvenate me. Um, it was a moment of clarity, I guess you could say. And that's something I've never even told anybody. It's first of all, I've never done an interview since. So you're the
Mhm.
first one to know. that I had passed away for 2 minutes. I got flatlined. I died. Um, and the hospital that I went to, they were so amazing. They did everything they could. They rejuvenated me. They brought me back. And it makes you think about certain things, I think, in life once you pass. And for me, it was appreciating the smaller things in life, um, not having or having a grudge against certain things, and realizing that it's just life, man. It's nothing personal. It's, you know, you think about, like, my students all reached out to me. They were like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know," and it's okay, because I went through a tough period for the past 2 years of my life, and I think that that kind of rolled over into what caused all this stuff to happen. Um, and it now has helped me focus so much more on what's important. As weird as that sounds, and so I'll just throw this one out there just because it's funny. So my old tag partner Latimer was like, when you died, did you see, like, God? What was it like? Did you see crazy things? And I was like, you'd never understand what I saw. And I was like, I'm going to say to you right now, it was very peaceful. Um, but I do remember that when that happened, I'll make this, I won't go into too much detail, but that day that I had to go in for them to stop my heart and everything. First off, all my nurses were hungry. They were agitated. They were sad. And we were all talking wrestling. This was amazing. It was so amazing. And the lady that was in charge of everything, she was asking me, who was your favorite wrestler? I said, George the Animal Steel, by far. And she's like, really? She goes, oh my gosh. She goes, he was amazing. And I go, oh, I know. That's why I got in the business, because any man that could eat a turnbuckle was okay in my life. And then I noticed that there was this, it was a nurse, and she was off to the far right. And I sat there and I looked at her and I was like, hey, like, I'm, I'm a little uncomfortable right now. What's going on? Are you okay? And she goes, it's my birthday today. And I said, what? And she goes, today's my birthday. And I go, well, fuck everybody. We need to sing happy birthday to her. And we all sang happy birthday. And she just, like, lit up. And it was the best thing ever. And then, of course, I went under. Things happened. Then I woke up. And the first thing I said when I woke up was, I was like, hey, guys, how did I do? And it looked like a madhouse. Shit was everywhere. She was crying. The nurse that we sang happy birthday to, she was crying. And they were like, you were dead. And I was like, I was like, I ain't got time to die. Come on now. So, life has been really good. I want to get more involved back into wrestling. We've got a Hope for the Holidays coming up for children down here in St. Pete. I'm going to post that on my link. It's for the children. It's all for the children. But Hope for the Holidays, like, it's meant for the kids. And I'm going to start getting back into a few things. I've been talking to Future Legends Apparel. So I want to get back into opening a school up. I want to eventually venture back in. Dreamer called me up, about a month ago and was like, hey, I won't go into the details of this. He goes, I saw you had a gun pulled on you. And I was like, this is off screen, obviously. And I was like, yeah, well, you ain't hardcore until you had a red beam on your forehead. Like, oh my God. So wrestling has brought me everything that I have, Brian, like everything that I've got, from my ex-wife to my fiance, to my son, to my career, to my homes. Like, I appreciate wrestling more than probably most or majority of the people do in this business. I would put myself up against it. I have become such an advocate and such a fan of wrestling because of what it has given a guy that had a 1.7 cube that had nowhere to go. I was in the bottom 15 percentile of my school. I was meant to fail, but yet because of wrestling, I have found the hope, love, and success. So I will always be grateful to wrestling because of it. And the people that I have met, the friends that I have made, to you, to the people that want to interview me, like it's been such an incredible adventure for me.
You know, it's I'm people like me. I'm appreciative that you take the time out because I know that everyone has lives, everyone's busy, they have families, they have everyday, stuff they have to do. And I think a lot of people forget that you can be a normal person too.
100%. You are
Hmm.
a normal person. And the problem is that when you see somebody on the tube, they just put them to this aspect. But the reality is, guess what? We take showers just like you do. We pay bills just like you do. And we're only as good as we are because of the viewers and the fans that come out there and buy the tickets. If no one bought a ticket, guess what?
Hmm.
We're gonna be on the side corner begging for money. And that is reality.
Hmm.
That's the truth. And I learned this. And so because of that, I will always be humble. I will always be grateful for people that have taken the time like you to interview me. And I know this has been like a rough thing because we've been like missing, and it's probably, is this asshole standing me up or no, I've got so much responsibility that it's like it's been a battle. But I always try to make time for everybody. And to me, the human aspect of things is the most important thing because I always remember the roots that I came from. And I can only pray that the people that make it to a certain level, they do the same thing because going up is great. But
Hmm.
guess what? No matter how far you go up, you're coming down.
Hmm.
And how you are as a human being is going to determine your fall. And luckily, thank God I have not fallen. I've been able to like walk down the ladder. Thank God.
Where can people reach out to you at?
They can hit me up on my Instagram. My Instagram's my biggest thing. They can hit me up on it's big_con1. Just look for the verification mark. Um, feel by all means feel free to hit my personal email up. A lot of them have my old email. I ended up changing my to my new email. It's singleton7988 yahoo.com. And you hit me up on my Twitter. It's little big_con1. I keep
Hmm.
it really simple. It's all lowercase for my Instagram, for my Twitter, and just reach out. Like if there's any way I can help this business, like to me, that's one of the biggest things is helping this business, helping these kids, and just watching this profession elevate because it does every so often. Like this business gets bigger and bigger in its own diversity.
I just want to say thank you for taking the time out. Thank you for what you've done for professional wrestling and what you continue to do. I'm very happy that you're still here with us. I know you had a scary event, 7
Yeah.
months ago. Uh,
Like I said, we ain't got time to die, baby.
I everything that you've done for wrestling, I truly appreciate, sir. It's been an honor to watch your career. Developmental is something that is not often talked about, like outside of when he mentioned if those five people, when people think developmental, they think of five specific names, and there's so many other people, there's so many other stories and accomplishments that all these people have done. So it truly means a lot that for what you've done for professional wrestling and for you to come take time out and come on to my podcast today, sir.
Brian, it was an honor. Thank you so much for having me.
And if there's ever anything that I can do, feel free to reach out. I'm here.
I appreciate that so much more than you know. Thank you.